I think we mentioned at the beginning of the Zman really a bit of a chiddush of a Moshe Shapiro that connected the Pesach experience with Mamad Har Sinai. That on Pesach there was a requirement that everyone is chayev lirot atzmo keilahu yatsa miMitzrayim. Part of the work of Pesach is to really feel that we're not celebrating some event that happened in the past, but that it's an existential reality of you being emancipated from some kind of slavery. And if that's true, then we have to look at the relationship between Pesach and Shavuos, and the whole emancipation of Pesach, it says in the Psukim, was in order that we go and stand at Sinai and receive the Torah. So said Rav Moshe, so therefore we really have to also, when we get to Shavuos, feel and experience that we are existentially receiving the Torah. And if so, we've got to get into the mindset of what was going on at Sinai. And of course, the first aspect of the mindset is Vayomru kol asher diber Hashem na'aseh v'nishma. The Jewish people, when they were offered the Torah, they said na'aseh v'nishma. And the Medrash connects this na'aseh v'nishma to angels. Right? It says that the Amru Rabbi Eliezer b'shashi kdimu Yisrael na'aseh v'nishma yatzas a batkol. A heavenly voice went out. Ve'amra mi gila livnei lebanai raz zeh. Who revealed this secret to my children? Shemalachi hasharis mishtamshim bo. Angels use this secret. Dichsiv baruch Hashem b'malachav giborei koach osei dvaro. Talks about the angels. They are giborei koach osei dvaro lishmoa bekol dvaro. So it says osei dvaro. The angels do the will of God. Lishmoa bekolo, and to listen to His voice. And therefore, first it's naseh, commitment to naseh, and then nishma. So this is an amazing idea, is that we, when we were offered the Torah, we made a commitment. We made a commitment, we're going to do the Torah, now tell us what to do. That's an amazing thing. So therefore, when we read something else in the process of Matan Torah, a huge question arises, which Tosfos asks, and we will quote the famous Gemara. The pasuk says, "Vayityatzu betachtit hahar." The Jewish people stood betachtit hahar. So we understand that to mean at the foot of the mountain, but it doesn't say that. Tachtit means under the mountain. Says the Gemara, "Melamed shekafa hakadosh baruch hu aleim et hahar kegigis." God held the mountain over us like a barrel. The Omar lahem, im atem mekablim Torah muta, v'im lav sham teikvu raschem. You accept the Torah, everything's going to be fine. If not, we're going to bury you there. Okay? And the Gemara continues, but we'll talk about Tosfos' very simple question. It says Tosfos, Afal pishek var higdimu nasa linishma. We're signing a contract. We want to sign the contract, and the opposing lawyer pulls out a gun and holds it at our head and said, "You better sign the contract, or you're going to be history." We want the Torah. Why are you holding a mountain over our head to force us? Tosfos gives an answer that the Maral does not like. Okay, and especially since this idea of Naseh v'Nishma is such a merit for the Jewish people throughout history, there's got to be something much deeper, says the Maral, in this Kafa Har Kegigis. Why is God holding a mountain over our head? Okay, so says the Maral, a couple of different answers that are all interfacing and are very relevant to how we relate to our Kabalat HaTorah. So first says the Maral that we shouldn't say Kibalnu Torah me'atzmeinu. Torah was voluntary. We decided to take it. And im lo ayinu rotzim, and if we didn't want it, we wouldn't have taken it. We had the option. God went to all the other nations, and they all said, "What's in it? No, we don't want it." We could have also said we don't want it. But we're really elevated people. We're good guys, and we're committed, and we took it willingly. Voluntary. Okay. So says the Maharal, the first thing is, this would not be Ma'alat HaTorah. This doesn't reflect the reality of the greatness of the Torah. Why? Because, and then we go back to the Gemara, which quotes, Vayer Vayivoker Yom Echad, Vayer Vayivoker Yom Sheni, Shlishi. Every time it says Vayer Vayivoker, and it gets the day. The last day, when we get to the sixth day, Vayer Vayivoker Yom Hashishi. Okay, what is that Yom Hashishi? Says the Gemara, says the Medrash, is that the whole world is standing in abeyance to see if the Jewish people are going to save the Torah. That's the Hashishi, that future sixth day, the sixth day of Sivan, and that the whole world is standing in abeyance till Maaseh Bereishis to see whether the Jewish people will receive the Torah. And without that, says the Gemara, if the world would not have accepted, if the Torah wouldn't have come into the world, it says, Ani machzir et ha'olam letohu vavohu. Okay? And therefore, since existence of the physical world depends on the Torah being received in the world by the Jewish people, so if it would just be voluntary, it doesn't reflect the power, the imperative of that receiving of the Torah. It really undermines the imperative of the Torah if it would have been simply left to Naaseh and Nishma. And therefore, the way the Torah has to be given into the world is a process that it's imperative. We like to think that it's voluntary. Listen, Bali Tshuva, I could have stayed in my old lifestyle, and I chose to come into a better lifestyle or a different lifestyle. Your parents say different, you say better. Okay? So, that was your choice. So one could have made a mistake to say, this is voluntary. We choose to accept the Torah. And that would mean that when God gave the Torah, He gave it because they chose to take it. It doesn't reflect the imperative nature of the Torah. Then the Maharal continues with another, that's very nice, but he says, Sof sof bechina mashakaf aleim har kegigis. But at the end of the day, there was no need to raise the mountain over their heads. And he said like this. The Torah is the completeness of reality. Okay? And if it was just voluntary, that doesn't reflect the completeness. He uses the words of shleimut kol hametzias. The world was hanging in abeyance, whether it's going to exist or not exist. And the fact that coincidentally they happened to make the right choice, that doesn't reflect the reality of what's going on here. Okay? And because that means the whole shleimut of the world depends on the Jews having made the right decision. We don't want that. God wants the world to exist. And therefore it has to come in with a process of an imperative nature. And then he adds another very important point. And that is the difference between something that is voluntary and optional or something that is imperative. So, there's Torah-nut list. You guys are assigned Torah-nut. Not voluntary, you got to do it. But sometimes the yeshiva asks for a volunteer. Voluntary. Okay? And we need a volunteer. You volunteered, but in the middle, something came up. So when you are hired to do a job and you have to do the job, you can't just say, well, it's nice, I did half the job, I'm going to reverse, I'm going to decide not to do it anymore. Okay, I always give the example of the voluntary contribution in the income tax form of a voluntary contribution to political campaigns. So you can either check the box yes, or not check the box no. And if you check the box 1 year, and you check the box another year, and then the third year you don't check the box. Nobody called you from the IRS to say, how come you didn't check the box this year? It was voluntary. 1 year I say yes, 1 year I say no. It's voluntary. I can decide yes, and I can decide no. And the third year when you didn't check the box and you saw nothing happened, the following year you said, you know what, maybe this year I won't even pay my income tax. You're going to get a call from the IRS. Why? Because that wasn't voluntary. You could change your mind about voluntary. You can't change your mind about imperative. So as long as the Torah was given through a pure process of Naseh v'Nishma, it appears voluntary. We decided to take it. You know what? And unfortunately, sometimes Bali Tshuva say this, I choose to be religious for 5 years. It stopped working for me. I stopped being religious. The Jews Lahavdil could have said, we took the Torah at Sinai. It was working for a while. But you know what? After a number of years, it became too... We decided that from now on it's not working. And since we did it voluntarily, we can now undo our voluntariness. So the Torah has to be given... No, it's an imperative. It's not voluntary. It's an imperative. You wanted it, that's fine. But you should know that what you're getting is not something voluntary. It's something that's imperative. The Torah is an imperative reality of the world. The world does not exist without Torah. And that's how we have to look at our commitment to Torah, is that on the surface, we're all free-willed people. Everybody has bechira. And I can decide, yes, to do the mitzvos. I can decide not to do the mitzvos. I can decide to learn Torah or not learn Torah. And we mentioned this in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. One of the memchet dvarim she'atorah niknes is al tachzik tova la'atzmacha. Don't pat yourself on the back. And I must say that you guys deserve on a certain level. You left your careers, you left your college, you upset your parents to come and learn. And you could be sitting there expecting a yasher koyach. The Mishnah is telling you, no, al tachzik Torah la'atzmacha. Why? Says the Maral, why? Ki lekach notzarta. You should just know that's what you're here for. You're in this world to learn Torah. And a secretary doesn't get a yasher koach for showing up at 9 o'clock in the morning. You showed up at 9, where's my thank you for showing up on time? Okay? Right? Guys in my shir want to know why I don't say appreciation, that you actually showed up on time. You got to show up on time. You got to be on time. That's an imperative. The secretary shows up an hour and a half early and stays 2 hours late. Then the secretary say, where's my thank you? Where's my yasher koyach? You're learning Torah. You have to know the Torah is an imperative. Lekach notzarta. That's what you're in the world for. And therefore, says the Maral, basically based on Pirkei Avos, don't pat yourself on the back. So we have to look at our commitment to Torah as an imperative. We don't say, the Jewish people doesn't owe any of us anything because we actually keep the Torah. God doesn't need us to keep the Torah. We're doing it because it's our commitment. So, says the Maral, that's also why, after the Naseh v'Nishma, it can't remain with the appearance that it was voluntary. Okay? That it was optional. The Torah is not optional. He also brings a point of why God also had to create a relationship with us through what's not a very comfortable word in our society, but that's what's going on here. It's called coercion. God coerced us into the relationship. We wanted the relationship. But when the relationship was solidified, it was a coercive relationship. And the Maral says that's similar to a relationship where a person has to marry a woman. All right, lo yuchal l'shalcha kol yomav. We had that when we were doing subas. Then the man, when he was forced by halacha to marry the woman, he can't divorce her. Lahavdil, HaKadosh Baruch Hu had a forced relationship with us. It's saying he can never divorce us. And that came to play later generations when the Jewish people said, well, the example that they used is an Eved Kanani is purchased by a Kohen. Is the Eved Kanani allowed to eat Truma? Yes, because he is owned by the Kohen. Then the Kohen sells the Eved Kanani to a Jew who's not a Kohen. All of a sudden he can't eat Truma anymore. The Jewish people said to God, you sold us out. You sent us into exile, you sold us out. We're not required to keep the Torah anymore. Because we only had to keep it when we had a covenantal relationship. And God is saying, no. The covenantal relationship is eternal. And therefore we have to realize that it doesn't change. The Torah is with us eternally as an imperative reality. I want to now focus a little bit more on this angelic aspect of Naseh v'Nishma. The Gemara says this is what the angels do. Naseh v'Nishma. So, as we prepare for Matan Torah, we have to know the medrash of one of the things that happened at Sinai. Kivan shenigla HaKadosh Baruch Hu al Har Sinai, when God revealed himself to the Jewish people at Sinai, Yardu imo kaf bet elef markavot malachim. 22,000 chariots with angels came along with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, brings psukim. And it says that they were asuyim degalim. They were arranged in banners. Banners are identifying they're identifying signias. That's what a degel is. And each angel was arranged with a degel. Okay, and the Jewish people saw that. Kivan sharo osan Yisrael hein asuyim degalim. It says a very strange thing. Hitchilu lihit aveh. They started desiring that they should also be arranged degalim. And so it quotes other psukim. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What was God's response when they asked to be arranged in degalim? Hitavetim ledegalim. You wanted to be arranged b'degalim. Harini oseh mishalotechem. And then it says, that's this week's parsha, right? Ish al diglo be'otot. God arranged the Jewish people with degalim. What was going on there? What did they see in the angels that was missing, that they wanted, that God said, I'm going to give it to you? Just add another point to the question. Chiba gedola chibe v'HaKadosh Baruch Hu et Yisrael shasan degalim. God exhibited a tremendous love for the Jewish people by arranging them b'degalim, like the angels. Sheyen nikarin b'nei Ruven la'atzman, b'nei Shimon la'atzman. Okay, and where does it? And they bring psukim to show that this was manifesting a great love for the Jewish people. So what was going on that they wanted degalim, and how was God arranging them in degalim, manifesting love? So the Jewish people are at Sinai, and here's the Torah coming, and I think you guys have picked up already that Torah is a pretty conformist system. Everybody has to keep Shabbos the same day. Everybody's tefillin has to be black. All right, you got to have a Zman Kriya Shema for everybody, or almost everybody. Okay, so it's very conformist, and they see the angels. And what do we know about angels? Every angel is unique and different. No angel is the same as the other angels. That's 22,000 chariots of angels. 22,000 represents 22 letters of the Torah. We'll connect that in a minute. But they said, wow, there's such individuality by the angels. We would like that individuality for ourselves also. We don't want to all be the same. And therefore God says, you got it. I'm going to arrange you in degalim, camps, shvatim, mishpachos, families, so that there will be a unique identity for each group and for each person. And that was a manifestation of love. Because anybody who grew up with siblings knows that you asked the dreaded question of your parents. Who do you love most? And your parents got a little nervous because they didn't want to show that they are playing favorites, because they really liked your sister much more than you, and you all knew it. But they said, we love you all the same. Is that possible? Well, you didn't buy it, but it is possible. How is it possible? If you view each child as a uniquely different person, it's possible to love each person the same because of what's unique. And God is manifesting His love for each of us by showing that He made us unique and gave each of us a unique assignment, like every angel. That's where they saw angels. Every angel is unique. No two angels do the same thing, right? And every angel only has one job. Now that's a little extreme, but let's listen to a shlah that says a huge insight about the 600,000 letters of the Torah. You've heard that before, right? Shishim Osio, Shishim Ribi, Shishim, where's the Lashon of it? Hashish, Torah, here's the language, which is always misinterpreted. Shishim Ribu Osios Heim, for the Torah. Now anybody who did a computer search knows that there's a little less than 305,000 letters. So what does it mean, 600,000 letters? So the Shlosh says an amazing thing. There's a connection between Torah, man, and God. That the Torah is Roshem Elokut. the Torah is a reflection, a roshem is the imprint of godliness, and man is the roshem, man is the imprint of the Torah, because it's through man that the Torah reveals the imprint of God. And then he quotes this idea, Torah shishim ribu osios, shishim ribu neshamos Yisrael. When we say that the Torah has 600,000 letters, what it means is that the letters of the Torah reflect the neshamos of the Jewish people. Okay, now what do we know about letters in the Torah? We know two things. First of all, every letter is unique. And if a letter is missing, the Torah is puzzled. So when it says that the Torah has 600,000 letters, what it means is that there are 600,000 elements, i.e. every neshama of the Jewish people is an element in revealing God to the world. That's what the Torah does. Roshem Elokut. So every Jew plays a unique role, because if you're a letter of the Torah in conceptually, then you are unique, because if you have the same letter over and over again, he didn't say anything. Letters come together to reveal a message. Jewish neshamos come together to reveal the messages of God. But each neshama has to be unique, and it has to reveal something different than any other letter, otherwise you have a hodgepodge. So what he's saying is that every Jew has a unique neshama with the responsibility to be unique and to reveal something that is not revealed by anybody else. That's the uniqueness. That's what started with Degalim. But it also implies that every letter is imperative. Because if a letter is missing from the Torah is puzzled. So if there's a Jew not reflecting his or her mission, something's missing. And that's what we have to think about when we are standing at Sinai. And again, on Shavuos, we're supposed to really sense that we are now standing at Sinai again, to be a recipient of the Torah again. So we have to make that commitment, Nasev and Nishma, realizing the Torah is not just a voluntary, we buy in, but it's an imperative reality that, as the Maral says, the whole existence of the world depends on that Torah being in the world. And we're the vehicle by which that Torah comes into the world, and we're the vehicle by which we accomplish what the Torah is supposed to accomplish, what the Shlosh says, Roshem Elokut, that we have to reveal divinity to the world through each individual Jew. It's a heavy mission, it's a heavy thought, but that's one of the things we have to work on before Shavuos and really feel on Shavuos. We are accepting an imperative Torah with an imperative mission, and that mission is unique. Like every angel is unique, every Jew is unique.